Welcome back, folks. The doctor is in. It's November 2nd, so that means it's day 2 of National Novel Writing Month. I've just spent a little while. I wrote about 1,000 words on a battle between a dragon and a dinosaur, and I'm really excited because that's fun. It's really fun to imagine things that you haven't seen 100 times before in movies, TV, and other books that you might be reading. One of the reasons it's fun to write fantasy and science fiction is because you get to say, what if a dragon fought a dinosaur? And then you get to write it. And that's part of why I love writing so much. It's part of why I hope people look for something unique in what I'm writing, and I hope they like what I'm giving them. I want to just re-mention that the project I'm working on is called Frogs of War. I know it's National Novel Writing Month, but I'm not actually writing a novel. I'm writing 4 short pieces. They're going to be, novelettes, novellas, maybe short stories. It just depends on how many words I need to get the 4 stories told. The first one I'm working on is a sequel to The Last Warpiper. It's going to involve some characters returning, including the dragon that appears in The Last Warpiper. In fact, the battle that I'm describing is one that happened in the past. The dragon is actually describing the battle for the main character. So this is all just rough draft, but I'm going to go ahead and just read a little bit of an excerpt. This is the dragon telling the story of when it encountered a monster, a creature from the land of beasts. There's a pretty firm line between beasts and monsters. Monsters, like the dragon, are intelligent. They can talk. That's kind of the dividing line I'm putting between, say, dragons as monsters and dinosaurs as beasts. So it's the difference between intelligence and just animal cunning. Okay, so our main character has to go fight one of these creatures from the land of beasts to help the frogfolk. And the dragon says, well, I once had to help them with that. That's why they came to me again. Of course, the dragon can't leave right now. It's got some pressing business that it cannot leave since it already started a project that it has to be present for. So our main character says, well, can you tell me what to expect? So the dragon kind of gives him some story time, and the dragon says, the swamp folks sought my aid after hundreds of their people were lost. I once dwelt closer to their lands than I do now, this being before the gods' war. I followed the trail of dead amaranths, most of them simply a scatter of limbs. Trees were felled in its wake, either snapped at the base or uprooted entirely. Anger rose in the dragon's voice at the harm caused to trees, an emotion absent from the mention of the dead frogfolk. So that's a little bit of a callback to what this dragon engages in as sort of a hobby. If you read The Last Warpiper, you'll know why it cares so much about trees being harmed, but has little concern for a dead intelligent, or the remains of dead intelligent beings, those being the frogfolk. I think I mentioned yesterday the frogfolk are called anaranths. It's kind of a blending of the taxonomy, so that's kind of frogmen. So then the dragon resumes. The trail led to an enormous body of water. I decided not to swim out, knowing not the nature of the beast. Instead, I moved laterally and found a place to lay in wait. Night fell, passed, and the day face rose again before I moved. Still, I waited by the calm water. So, basically what's happening here, he's trying to find the beast that slaughtered hundreds of the frogfolk. He can't find it, so he kind of camps out at the last trace that he has of it. So he resumes. Finally, I saw something moving on the water. First, small ripples reached the water's edge near me. The ripples became waves as the creature swam closer. Its body was underwater, but large spikes growing from its back, webbed with flesh, sliced through the water, revealing its position, causing the ripples upon the surface. It broke from the water on the shore, and I saw it revealed for the first time. It was longer than I am, at least 40 feet from nose to tail. Legs like tree trunks powered it through the muddy ground. Its feet were great paddles with webbed toes, sprouting claws 3 times as long as mine. Its arms were longer than mine, but not by much, though its hands had claws too. Twice as long as these. It climbed from the water on all 4 limbs, but soon dragged itself upright and walked on 2 legs. Its head was long, and the maw filled with teeth, sticking out along the sides even when closed, like a crocanth's. Water sheeted off its scaled hide like a tidal wave as it pulled down the tree it used to drag itself upright. Its massive body was at least twice as big as mine. A great tail, as big as I am, stuck out behind it as it leaned over to walk. The tail swayed side to side, balancing its movement, each swing battering the trees along its path. So, this is just a trying to describe what a dragon seeing such a beast would consider relevant. The dragon talks about its size in relation to itself. It talks about the claws that it has. It talks about its teeth. And it talks about its tail. And again, it refers to damaging the trees. So, this is just kind of returning to the character I established in The Last Warpiper. It gives a little information in case someone hasn't read the novel. I want to, kind of reinforce some of those characteristics. And if you're actually specifically interested, the dinosaur is based on a Spinosaurus. I'm going with the notion that the spines on its back form a sail, like a Dimetrodon, instead of there's kind of a split among paleontologists. Some say that the spines on the back were the support mechanism for a hump, like a big hump for storing fat. I've kind of deviated. I'm going with the traditional sail theory for this. I think it looks cooler. I like the look. If I were to put something like this from this story on the cover, it would be a picture of this fantasy version of a Spinosaurus. I mentioned a crocanth, though those are the crocodile folk. There's a good chance you might see some of them. They also dwell in the swamps. I go on to talk about how the dragon first makes an attack that doesn't work out quite so well, and how it changes its tactic to continue the battle. And obviously the dragon is the one telling the story, and he's talking about how he defeated the dinosaur, so it's not really a spoiler at this point. This is a tale told to the main character. Of course, when the main character encounters one of these dinosaurs, he's not a dragon. He doesn't have quite the capacity that a dragon has. He doesn't have the size, the ability. What might have been easy comparatively for the dragon is not necessarily going to work out so well for the main character. I've got an interesting spin I'm going to put on that I hope kind of ramps up some of the drama in the situation. And that is what I'm working on. I hope that when Frogs of War comes out, you'll give it a look. I'm about 3,800 words in, maybe 3,700. I need for my personal goal, I want to hit 5,000 today, so I've got a little more to do. I'll get on that later this afternoon, probably after dinner time. And then we'll look at giving you an update tomorrow. And for now, the doctor is out.